Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 49 in our Oxygen Not Included Redux series. Today, we're going to be primarily focusing on finishing up our petroleum boiler, but I have a few things to get to before then. One is just to show you where we're at. We are building the inside of the petroleum boiler. I have to do it kind of in stages because I need to be able to get in there since there is very little space to get around. And we are making sure we sweep up everything as we go. We ran some oil in just to make sure piping was working, so we have some oil sitting up here, so once we connect heat it'll start turning to petroleum. But we need to get all of our runners in here for the heat exchanger, so we need to build a bunch of insulated tiles out of obsidian, and we're slowly working our way through finishing up this one's and sweeping out as we go so that we can finish this, and then we'll work on these 2 rows. And then we'll be done, which will be awesome. Let's see. Next we need to build this tile because we can reach that. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. The other thing that we are dealing with is that we are running very low on coal, which means we don't have coal to make where is it here? This is what I'm looking for. We don't have coal to make the refined carbon that we need to make ceramic. So we're going to fix this in 2 ways. One, I went over to Gorgani. Gorgani, I have 525. Let's see, let's close that. 518 now tons of coal from my hatches that I don't need. I think that's where it came from. All the hatches that we had run through here. I don't need it over here. We're not using it. We're going to ship it off. The other thing we're going to do is in our star map, we have a carbon asteroid field here that is 21% refined carbon and 79% coal. So if we send a rocket out there to bring some back, we'll get more coal to use, but also we'll get some refined carbon. So, to that end, I have changed the destination for this rocket. We have our pilot inside. He has food. He has oxygen. He has enough water for the trip. Before we do anything else, I really want to quick change this. If you recall, I had changed some piping in here for our water storage. So I changed it so it goes down like this and down like this. Don't need to change that. And then we're going to cut off. Oh, no, that's not correct. How did I do this on the other one? I ran that way, okay. Which will be fine. Eventually we'll deconstruct that tile. So we're going to need this one to be put in right away, so we can finish it. So the idea is that the water flows through, and it maximizes the amount of water storage we have in the pipe going to our toilet, so that they can stay out for a longer time without the water flowing out. Good, you have what you need to build that pipe. So I don't have to open the rocket back up. Can you reach it? Come on, build me a pipe. Oh, I do have to open the door. Okay. So we're gonna go back out here. We'll change this to all, so that we can watch as he runs out to go get me materials to build that pipe. But once that's done, we'll be ready to launch. So that is good. Let me take a look at Gorgani. So now we have coal that's being dropped off from this line. Is this going through fine? Coal. Oh, I don't have this connected. There we go. So now the coal is coming down. It'll get dropped off here. This one's going to pick it up and put coal into this loader. I'm going to turn allow manual use off for now, because I don't want them running to get coal. I want the automated system to take it. Yeah, what is going on here? That is not what's supposed to happen here. Do I have a connection here? I must. There we go. That's gonna go and drop coal off somewhere I don't want it to. It'll be fine. It'll all get sorted out in the end. Okay, but so now we have coal coming down here. It's getting dropped off here. This sweeper's putting it in, which is loading it into our supply teleporter input, which means on this side, at our supply teleporter output, we have coal coming out, which is then getting picked up, put in here, and dropped off into our storage. So our coal supplies are already up to 1.4 tons, which is great. Which means we'll be able to start making more ceramics, which is what we needed to finish our piping for this up here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have our petroleum boiler is going to go to here, have our piping from our petroleum boiler going across this way and up, and then it's going to come up this way, and it is going to start dropping off into here. And if you remember from Watano, this is probably looks familiar. This is an infinite liquid storage. We tested it on Watano with the water and the polluted water. If it wants to load, I can show you. This is working great. By the way, the water's almost down to the level of our buildings, which is good, because we have a lot of pressure issues going on that I hope get resolved. I'm gonna have to send somebody out to Watano very soon. In fact, I'll probably launch that rocket next. But if we come back over here, we're going to have a storage. Petroleum is going to get put in here. I'm going to put in some pumps, which means that the petroleum will be able to be pumped from here directly up to our lines for our petroleum boilers. And what we'll do is we're going to set this pump down here. We're going to take those lines that are currently coming up to here. We're just going to redirect them into this storage, and we'll empty that petroleum into here. And we'll probably continue to run this petroleum boiler while we can still get the heat out of down here. But then once it is all used up, we can just use this one up here. Though we may end up stopping the petroleum side of this and use this just for the water until we get the water set up. We'll see. I want to get this tested and working first. But so all we need to do now to get this finished is to get our finished building here. We also need to get all of this gas vacuumed out. To do the gases, I just put in a couple of pumps. They're pumping the gas out of this room, which I have liquid locked. And we're dumping it off into our mixed gas line, which is going up and getting sorted. One thing I did do up here, I was having an issue. Some steam had gotten into this line. So I did some shuffling around, and I added in another filter here at the end that filters out steam. And all it does is, if it is steam, it goes through, comes out this high pressure gas vent, it immediately cools down, turns into water. So I have like 21 grams of water there, and occasionally I can mop it up. It's just a little pressure release vent for if any water gets into our lines or any steam from anywhere, which is good. The problem is that the steam was in little tiny bits, so it wasn't doing anything, but it was blocking up spots in the pipe, so I wasn't able to run a full line of gas into our filter here, which was slowing everything down. So now once this is done, this will go back to sorting our mixed gases that are coming in from Gargani, and we'll be set. So a couple things we just need to wait on: get the gases out of here, get the construction done, get our rockets moving again, and it'll take a little while, but we will be ready to start testing our petroleum boiler. I sent my rockets off, and I realized the reason that I haven't sent a rocket back to Watano, even though I wanted to get some more supplies over here, and I've been putting it off, is because I don't want to use the lander. I don't want to dismantle the lander because I need the lander to go to these other planetoids, but I'm repurposing this rocket because I don't need two explorer rockets for the purpose of going to Volcano and other rockets or other planetoids where I need a rocket that is a sustainable one to sit there. I don't have that yet. I had the explorer rocket, which took off here. I have the mining rocket, which took off here. This is for landing the first time on a new planetoid because of the Trailblazer. This one is going to be changed so that it is a more permanent landing structure. So I'm taking off the cartographic module. I'm going to be adding in a large gas container, which means I need to take off this one. And we're going to get this set up to be able to land on Watano and be similar to this one. So what we need to do is this interior is finished for living on Watano. This one is not. So I copied everything in from that side so that now we can get everything done. I had the structure built. Mostly I just need to get wiring and the last few bits and bobs put in. So I've started that. That'll take a while. We're going to let that go. Back to our other projects while we wait on that to get done. We are still pumping out gas, and we are still getting the last few things done here before we can proceed. Spent a long time trying to figure out a problem I'm having on the mining rocket, and it was that I had breathability issues, and I couldn't figure it out because there's oxygen all through here, and there's oxygen running through here, and if we look at the star map and we go to our rocket, we have plenty of gas left. So I just couldn't figure out the problem, and then I realized I had disabled the Atmos suit checkpoint, and so Hayes was in here wearing his suit, and it was worn out, and he was only able to breathe when he was popped his helmet off for a few seconds so that he could breathe, because he never took his suit off when he came in here, which was silly. I fixed the issue, putting a suit there that's getting charged up now, so it's ready to go for when he leaves, and everything's happy and working out just great. Our rockets are headed to their destination and doing a good job. Our Explorer is headed over to this area, and we're going to start here. We'll fly down to here, and then probably come up this way and then back around before we head back. Probably how we're going to do it. I think we'll have enough tiles to do that, so let's figure that out. We have 26, so we'll have 24 when we get to here. 21 minus another 5 is 16, 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. It might be close, but we'll see what we can do. Hopefully it's just enough to get this whole section done, because then all we have left is up here. There's a few spots. We can hit that on the way to start up here, and then we'll be done with this whole half of the map, and we'll just have to do this side. So a few more trips, but we'll see. I'll look at this when I get down to here, figure out if I have enough left to do it. We may split this into two, just because we have plenty of time and we have plenty of resources to do more than one trip here. I don't want to risk having one of our duplicates die in a capsule. This area here is almost finished being built. Building the last one on this level, and then this one here. And before we can seal it up, well, I guess we could seal off the top. This comes out to here. We'd still be able to get gas. Oh no, I guess we can only go to here, because we need to have this gas pumped out. And if we close it to here, then the oil and this will block it. I guess it would come through this way too. No, we'll be fine. But we need to get all of our gas out of here so that we don't have any issues when the petroleum starts flowing down. causing pockets of gas to build up to block the flow of our petroleum, since we're doing this one wide tile design. And we're at 112 milligrams here in this corner. This is the spot with the highest amount, because if we go down here, it's 18, and if we go like this area is 17. So all of this is very low, and then this windy path is making it so it's taking a while to get to this. Won't be an issue. Once it gets down to the point where this all starts to collapse, it'll all fail. The way that works, in case you've ever seen that happen and wonder, is basically when this tile gets down to the point where it doesn't have enough to support two tiles, then they start to give up. So like, for example, up here there's 15 micrograms. When this is pumping gas out, this tile splits to this tile. And so then there's like, so this is 13. Let's use this one as an example. This one tries to split to this tile, and so 13 micrograms when you split it in half is 6.5 micrograms. Well, when you get down to the point where you're splitting even smaller than that, you'll lose a small percentage, like a small fraction every time. Well, when you get down to the point where it's like the difference between 1 and 0 micrograms in an area, then the math starts to fail against it. So very rapidly everything turns to 0 because it rounds down. And so we just have to pump into the point where it reaches the point where we have like a cascade like that. And then that'll get it down to here. And for a little bit, we'll have gas that pumps out of here to fill the room back up. And then eventually it will just fail the whole way down. And we'll have 0 the whole way into our pump. So we're going to let that happen. And we'll keep working with our rockets. And once that's done, all we have left to do here is put 4 tiles in place here, and then close this side, and we can start pumping gas in. We also have to finish up this part, but that's just a matter of changing these 2 to window tiles, putting one in here, and then putting some airflow tiles here to prevent any heat exchange between the diamond window tile and the environment around it. So almost there. So our mining rocket has finished mining up resources. So we have 12 tons in our cargo bay, and we're headed back. Our explorer, 24 tiles remaining, so I issued the command to go to here, and then we'll look at it again. Let's go back to our colony. I'm doing some work on removing these ladders because I'm done with them. Doing them one at a time just to make sure I don't get anybody trapped in here that gets incapacitated. Though, frankly, if they did here, it wouldn't be so bad because the med bay is right here. The other duplicate that I lost, the other atoms, was because he was so far away that by the time we got him here, he actually died in the transit tube right here. Not far from the med bay, but it wasn't close enough. Sad times. We are just 7 milligrams away from being done. I actually ended up taking out this tile right here to make it so the gas could go this way. So I think that I think this is still the farthest point. So it's 7 milligrams here. These are all down to micrograms. Yeah, so just a few more minutes until it's done. Maybe a couple more cycles, and then we'll get the last of these put in. Who's suffocating? Oh, because I'm building this rocket, and this was enabled, so now he can't get out. So okay, good. He's changing this to disable, which means he'll be able to leave, and he won't suffocate. Breathability issues here are probably because this dude is still suffocating because he's outside of a rocket. All right, go into that one where you can breathe. That sounds great. And now Grant is scalding. He'll be fine. Be safe. He's been doing a lot of that work. Let's assign him here, and then somebody else can do it for a little while. Deconstruct at 9. Okay. So let's check. What is this at? 6 milligrams. Up here, we're at 400 micrograms. Soon this will all collapse and the oxygen will all disappear. Well, I let things run for a while so that things could get finished, and despite me having forgotten about my rocket that's been in orbit for about 25 cycles, my little dude up there is fine. I'm bringing him in for a landing. That's our mining ship. It has... You better run. Our mining ship has finished mining things. We can refuel it, stock everything, and get it going back out again. So we need to, once it lands, select our cargo bay, empty its storage. There goes the things down to here. Refined carbon to 2.5 tons, full 9.4 tons. We'll get that every time we send it out. It'll take a while to refuel, take a while to restock our oxygen. We'll let it go. What is cool is that we gave it enough time that this vacuuming job is done. I went through and I finished this window tile. So what I want to check is how is our heat transfer going. So this is 1392, oh no, that's 1392 kilograms, but it's 1619 degrees. It's transferring up through here. And up here we're at 233. So let's let it proceed. Before we do that, I got to turn the flow on here. I think that should be good. That way we can get the oil running up through the pipe for the counterflow. This is going to be, turn this on slow so I can watch it closely. This is, the crude oil is heating up quickly because the heat is already transferring through the steel door into here. So this is going to turn into, oh, that's a problem. Below. Let's turn off that heat transfer for now. Because I didn't finish this wall. Glad I caught that. Right now, if it starts to boil over, petroleum is going to spill out both sides. We do not want that. We want to make this high priority, get this finished, and then we'll set these back to normal. But for now, the temperature can continue to transfer up this window tile, and we can test that. Since this is a vacuum, that means, and it's a vacuum on all sides of it, this should eventually heat up to the point of the temperature in here. And that means we'll have 1600 degree heat up here. That is not going to cause any problems. I'm wondering if I should have put in air tiles for these, but I don't think that the heat transfer is going to be a problem. It's insulated tile made out of obsidian, so we're not going to have an issue with it. Let me sweep this debris here just to get rid of it. Once this is built, I'll turn it back on and we'll see, but where's the temperatures? We're up to almost 500 degrees and it's still climbing. That means that once we switch these sensors back on, the heat should transfer pretty quickly to turn this crude oil into petroleum. I think this is going to work out. Good timing. They'll be able to get this finished just as we start having oil go in. I don't want this oil filling up before it turns into petroleum. So I think for now, let me stop this flow. I'd rather have a gap in the pipe than have too much oil coming through and it overflowing before it turns into petroleum. Oh crap, I just realized this is a big problem. I did forget those, but I also didn't finish this part. Okay, we're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer to be ready to do this. Let me get this wall finished and this one, and then we'll start this again. Okay, we got everything back on track. I have the oil flowing. I have this tile built. The sensors are set correctly, which means heat is transferring all the way through this steel door into this window tile, and our crude oil is heating up. So 401, I think, is the magic number for crude oil. Properties. Vaporization point 399.9. So 401.9, because it always goes 2 degrees above, is when this will flash into petroleum. So what I'm watching for here, I don't want this crude oil to get too high before it turns into petroleum. So I'm going to let this fill up till this reaches a little higher. And if this hasn't reached the petroleum point by then, I'll cut off the pipe so no more crude oil come in. I don't want to shut it off with the shut off because I don't want it to keep flowing. I want to have it stay in the pipe so that when the petroleum starts flowing, the heat exchange will start happening, because that will speed up this process in here. But okay, so we're at 500 kilograms here. Let's cut this off for now. That way the crude oil will stay in the pipe. No more will go in here until this turns into petroleum, which is going to take a few minutes. I also realized while I was turning on our boiler that I had not finished the storage chamber for petroleum. So I have a high priority task going on up here to seal up this chamber for where the petroleum goes very quickly before petroleum starts flowing. So let me get this all wired up here. Automation wires are the last things we need to do. Shouldn't take a lot of time. Then we can seal it in. We don't need to worry about getting the gas out of this chamber, because the way that this works is that the gas inside the airflow tiles prevents the pressure from building up to cause breaks, because the airflow tiles won't break because there's gas in it. So the liquid pushes the gas out into the airflow tiles, and it creates a barrier between that and any of the tiles where we could have potential problems. So we just need to get it sealed up, and then the liquid coming in, the liquid will push all of the gas out of the room for us, so we don't need to worry about that. So I just need to get this automation wire put in, and I need to sweep this room. Right now we should be okay. We have a while before the petroleum will fill up this bottom layer, and we can get that done if it starts flowing. So let's check back in here. We're at almost 300 degrees. Heat is still transferring. It's coming through here, and it's coming from here. That's pulling a lot of heat down here. So if we look, the heat from the magma that came out of the volcano is at 1638 up here, and now we're already down to 1607 here. Now this is pulling out a lot more heat than it's going to during the running of the system, because it needs to warm up, as it were. It's going to take a lot less heat to continue the crude oil to petroleum cycle than it is to start it. But if you look, this is at 1607, this is at 1610, this is 1612, and so it's pulling heat down the line here, which means that in theory, this will solidify at 1409. So again, it's always 2 degrees past the point. So at 1407, this will solidify. So while this is at 1407, this is still going to be safely a couple of degrees behind, which means that there should be time for this robo miner to mine this rock when it becomes available, because the robo miner can reach down there, and more magma should flow in before this cools off. So we should continue to be able to have magma flowing in here. And the temperature is not going to go down rapidly enough that it's ever going to go through 2 degrees before this rock gets mined, so it should be plenty. We'll see the rate at which we're using up the magma once we have this going, but for now we have quite a bit stored up. This is dormant, but in 24 more cycles we'll have more magma flowing in. We get a decent amount every cycle. So this is from less than 1 cycle worth of activity for the volcano, and every cycle is 150 cycles long. But so as long as we don't go through more than this amount of magma in 150 cycles, this system will sustain itself. Once we add the other boiler in, we'll see how fast it goes as well, but we're going to get one done here at a time. So this is now at 327. It's getting pretty close. Let's check up here. Okay, looks like everything is done. Let's double check everything here. So as far as automation goes, I have wires connecting those for power. I have a power line running through, and for our piping, for now, it just goes to here and stops. We'll put in a connection to bring it up here to start pumping it into our petroleum boilers eventually, and then reroute the flow from the boiler underneath to here, but we'll do that after we're done here. So all we need to do here now is put in 2 steel tiles like this, and then the insulated tiles on the outside, and we should never have to go in there ever again. Even if we don't get the insulated tiles in before this starts flowing, it's fine. Frankly, it's fine right now. This one tile will allow us to put in an entire layer, so that's 6,000 grams of petroleum before it overflows. So these will get built really quickly and we'll be fine. Let's check our temperature again. We're at 334, so just a little bit longer, and then we'll check back in and reconnect our oil flow. Well, when this flashed over to boiling, it did it quickly, and it pushed the oil upwards. So I am hoping that the heat from here going through will allow this oil to switch. I don't know if it will, but let's find out. I may have to reload an autosave because I wasn't paying attention, but we're going to keep pumping oil in, which is going to cause more heat to come in, which is going to cause more petroleum to come up, and assuming that this petroleum is hot enough, the oil, the little bits of oil that are in here should switch to petroleum. But I don't know if they will. There's not that much in here, so we'll see. I'm concerned. This is set to pump out when it's above 100. Let's move this marker all the way up. I want to let it, I don't want it to start pumping out fluid here until it's petroleum. So we're going to let this run for a while and see. And see what's happening here. So let me check out this message. Oh, this Explorer is finished. I always do too many things at one time. We have 15 tiles remaining. So if I go here, that's going to use 3 of them. And then from here to here should be enough. We're going to risk it. Let's go back. Basically, we just need to have this keep going to see if this oil gets converted to petroleum from the residual heat running through the line. I guess what I could do... Let's see, let me think about how I could do this. I have an idea. I have this pump in here. So if we set this below 2000, then it's going to start pumping. That means that it'll pump through this line, it'll go through here. This line I can connect right here. And so it'll start pumping up the oil that's down here and sending it through this line and patch it in with the oil that's already in the system. And then once this pipe is full, we'll cut off flow coming in. Actually, let's cut it off down here. I don't want oil in the line that's being overheated and breaks pipes, because I don't want to get stuck in there dealing with that. So let's get out of here. We'll turn this switch off. So now... the oil flowing down, we may need to send a little bit more in through here after this is done. We'll see. It might be enough, but the oil coming down will get pushed into here, and we will let it keep flowing until all the oil coming up this pipe is petroleum, and then we will switch back this line to send the petroleum out, and then we'll allow the flow of oil back in. That should allow it to keep going, because what's going to happen is hopefully this petroleum will keep getting filled up. It'll push the oil all the way through. That'll get pumped out, and eventually this whole system will convert over to petroleum. It's just going to take a while to do that. And it should also never cause any problems with the piping, because this petroleum should never go above the 403 degree mark, because these sensors will open this door when it reaches that point. So we can just let this flow for a while and see what happens. Looks like we're not going to have enough fluid to push through here for now, so we need to let some more through. Let's do that. So I'm going to keep tweaking with this, pumping oil in until we get this all converted over to petroleum. Firing up these boilers is always the hardest part. Once you get them running, just like the one down here, they run for a long time with very few problems. But getting them going is partly an issue. While we're letting that go, I did finish up here. I changed the piping around. So the piping from here goes up to here, and it gets split between these two. I need to change the way. So the old petroleum came out here and had two different bridges to make it have priority. So I'm going to have to set up a similar system here. So I think here and here, let's do, because otherwise we're gonna keep pumping one until it's full, and I want them to be even, is my goal. So we're gonna do a pipe like this, or a bridge like this, and a bridge like this. And then what we'll do is we'll have this one go under here and connect there, and this one can come this way and connect. I don't know that I like that. If it connects here, it's going to prioritize this one over that one. This one, it'll split. I want it to go to here. Okay, yeah, we can still do it. We'll just do this, and then we'll do a bridge across to have that petroleum unloaded in the middle, so it goes both directions. Which means that we won't need this, and we won't need this. And then the last thing we need to do is, this is the pipeline from the petroleum coming from down at our old boiler. We'll jump it across here and here. We'll have an insulated pipe to connect that. And we'll bring this pipe down, and we will bridge it across into our storage. And so that means the petroleum coming from the basement and the petroleum coming from here will get dumped into storage, and then these two pumps will bring it out and evenly distribute it to all 8 of these petroleum boilers. And then we can remove excess pipes when we're done. So we'll let that get built while we're finishing this up, and we should be fine as far as power. Petroleum power is mostly run because petroleum is a water positive system. So the water turns into oil through the oil wells, and then it gets pumped up here as petroleum, and then it creates more water than it uses. So we just let it run constantly. I don't particularly need it for power. I have backup power supplies, I have solar power, but once you have a good petroleum system running, you just always run it, because you get more out of the system than you put into it. So we'll come back once this part is finished and we have our petroleum boiler running. Had a slight problem with piping. We had tapped into the oil down here, right here, and I was thinking that this is the line where the two oil reservoirs merge, because we have one on this side from our slicksters and this oil well, and then we have one on this side from these two oil wells. I was incorrect. This is the line that takes it from here and drops it into the other reservoir. So I've changed it. I added a pipe here that goes from here with a bridge. So oil coming from our main reservoir will prioritize going this way, which goes across and into our line going up to the new boiler, and then any excess oil is dumped into our old boiler. This is still here, so oil from here is prioritized to our new boiler, and any excess is sent to the main reservoir. Not the most elegant of systems, but it's working. And so now I have full oil coming in, which means up at our boiler, instead of having patches of oil coming through, we will have a constant flow, which is important because we don't want to have gaps in our boiler. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do if we get to the point where we're burning more oil up there than we can use to have two lines supporting here. because this might cause an issue. We may have to change this up. But if this boiler, eventually this boiler is going to go away. So if it does, it does. That's pretty much where it's at. This has actually been shut down for a while anyway, because this is full. So what I should probably do, let me look at the automation here. This is set to turn on when this falls below 500. So let's just change this to 0. It'll never fall below 0, which means this tank can empty out entirely before this will turn on, and then I can turn this on manually. So for now, we're just going to run the petroleum up to our boiler. Obviously, we have a very big backlog of petroleum where we were making a lot more than we use. Maybe we'll find a use for it to do that, but for now, that tank down there is being pumped up here and put into our infinite storage, which is starting to fill up. It'll start pumping into the boilers as soon as this infinite storage reaches 500 kilograms across here. They're set that way so that the lines constantly have petroleum flow and they're not pumping in little bits and bobs. This is still pumping oil in, and hopefully this is going to fix our issues here. I'm hoping that I don't have to send anybody in to fix it, but we will see in another few minutes. Two things. One, I know this episode is getting very long, and it's probably just going to end up being a long episode. I'm going to edit it down as much as I can, but I don't want to split the boiler into 2 episodes. I'd like to have it done by the end of the episode, but I still have a few things to do. 2, I had to roll back a little bit because I had made a mistake, and that was that I had oil in here before I was ready to go. And so what happened is the oil, when it expands, or when it turns to petroleum, it causes rapid expansion, and then oil got all through these lines, and it was causing all kinds of pressure problems. So what I did is I redid the plumbing up here. So this is how I had done before. So all the petroleum from the lower boiler is coming in here for now, and this is pumping out, and I have the piping ready to pump it into the petroleum generators. But for now, I ran a line so it comes down here, and it's going down the pipe that will eventually be the petroleum out pipe, and I have that coming to this vent. So what it's doing is it's filling our boiler up with petroleum that is already petroleum, and I have these disabled. They're the boilers. I could turn them on because petroleum can go to 403, no problem. In fact, I should do that now that I have fluid going in, just so that this will close and these will start heating this petroleum back up. That way we can kind of prep the boiler. But what we're doing is we're getting petroleum to flow all the way down through. And so that way, once I heat this up, and this is already at the right temperature, when I turn on the oil, it'll come in, it will go through the heat exchanger, and it will boil in here, and it won't send any oil through the system, which was causing us issues before. So we're almost done with that for running through. I just want to get it the whole way, and then we'll cut off this line and put our piping back to normal, and then we'll be ready to start the oil flow. But I want to get it completely done here. This should be set to only pump if it's above 500 kilograms, which is good. That means this will fill up. In fact, I want this, yeah, I want it to be 500. We'll see how that works. We might mess around with that. But so now we have it filled. So what we're going to do is we'll go up here. We're going to cut this line off. And the oil that I had in here, I had pumped into this liquid reservoir so that I could just get it out of there. I'll run it back down here and drop it into here in a minute once I get everything else working. But so this pipe is our petroleum output, so we're going to go to there. We'll cut this off, and then up here we're going to remove this line. Actually, no, I don't think I want to I don't want to remove that yet. What we are going to do is we'll reconnect it to here so that it goes up and it goes to the drain. This will probably have to do some different piping up here. The petroleum coming out, we want to connect it here. And then we'll disconnect here first. That way this petroleum has somewhere it can go. It'll empty this line out, which is good. It'll go into here. And then the petroleum from down that was down here will go back up. Is this... So if it's above... That's weird. That went to 0. I don't know why it did that. That's fine. Now we have a little bit to go through and make sure the line's working. This should not fill up because I don't have enough in here to do it. If it gets above 500, then it will, which is fine, which is what we want to do. So now what we need to do is connect this line here. And that means we can turn the oil flow on. And so now our temperatures aren't quite where we need them to be, but they're getting there. And now we're going to have the oil flowing through, which will cool this petroleum down, which is the entire purpose of the heat exchanger. So oil is coming in at 37 degrees. It's already up to 124, which means that this petroleum back here is at 265 degrees, and it's already cooled down here down to 185. It'll continue to balance itself out. That way the petroleum will be pumping out at a much more manageable temperature, and the crude oil will be heating up on its journey up to the petroleum tank, which means that when it gets in, if we built this correctly, and we'd already done the math when we built it the first time, the oil should be getting to just the right temperature when it gets through this last radiant pipe so that it's ready to boil as soon as we drop it into that hot pot there. So let's just keep an eye on this real quick, watch it go up. We don't want it to go over 400 degrees inside the pipes, and it shouldn't. It definitely shouldn't now because the heat just isn't in there because we weren't heating up most of this petroleum as it flowed down. But we want to get it as close as we can without going over, which is why we calculated just the right amount of gold pipes to do it. So if we look, right now it's at 308 degrees, which is perfectly fine. As this heats up, it's going to go a little higher, but it's not going to go over the boiling point, and it's not going to crack any pipes, which is good because we can't get in there to fix them. So now we have oil going in here. These are set to above 403, which means that cooled down these thermosensors so that the door is closed. We have heat transferring in. And so the heat from this window tile is going in there. The heat's not quite there where it should be because I just reconnected it. Or maybe we just used a lot of it. I'm not sure. But we are drawing heat from down here. And it is coming up all the way to here. And going into the oil. So we're just going to let that go for a while. Hopefully we don't have any more trouble. We'll get to the point where we have enough petroleum here and this will start flowing. The last things I need to work on, and I'll do this after we're done because I don't need to do this on camera, is just working out priorities on pipes. So, for example, we have oil coming from down here. I had done in an earlier clip, which I may or may not keep in, I want to change this oil. So right now, oil from our main tank is only going into this reservoir or into this boiler, and then the one from this reservoir and this secondary thing is going up to our new boiler. We want to change that so that we have oil flowing primarily to our new one so that we can start emptying this out properly. I'll do that. And also up here, we want to prioritize that the oil coming from, or the petroleum coming from here is going directly into our storage first because we don't have a backup tank to store petroleum in here. So we want this to be able to constantly run, which means that the petroleum will flow up. It'll go into the infinite tank. It'll always go. Oil or petroleum coming from the basement level will hold if there is already petroleum flowing, and it will fill up the tank down here. That's the idea. So I'll do all that piping off camera, but that's the whole point of it. We're going to let this run for a while and make sure that this is working, and then that's going to slowly lower the temperature here, and we're going to find out if this system works. I'm hoping it does, because getting in there to change it into something else is going to be very difficult with all those temperatures. But I hope you enjoyed watching today. That's where we're going to call it for now. Next episode, I might take a break. I'm not quite sure yet. It's going to be episode 50. So what I haven't done in a long time is I haven't done a tour of my base to show all the things we've done. So I might do that for the next episode. But after that, we're going to work on putting in our water boiling system in this section and our coolant system up here. And then we will have moved everything from down here up. And I'm probably going to leave these systems in here. I still want to get rid of this magma down here. So just leaving them running and pulling the heat out is probably the best way to do that. Then I can dig everything else out and I can convert this area into just oil processing. I'm thinking once we get rid of all the magma, which will probably take another 1,000 or so cycles, we may move our industrial area down here and make a much bigger industrial sauna area. Possibility. There's a lot of things we can do. We're also going to focus on more of our space exploration and expanding the things that we already have. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I know it's a very long episode. And the next one probably will be too if I'm going to do a tour. So sorry about that, but we will continue on and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.